Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we are bypassing the usual pleasantries to descend immediately into the subterranean silence of a museum archive in York, England. We are looking at a collection of objects that, to the uninitiated, appear to be nothing more than construction debris. They are white, nondescript lumps of hardened plaster, rough and unformed. But if you were to ask an archaeologist what these blocks represent, they would tell you that these are some of the most haunting artifacts ever recovered from the Roman Empire. These are the gypsum shrouds, the negatives of the dead. For the next 20 minutes, we are going to explore how modern technology is unlocking the secrets of these 700-year-old time capsules, revealing ancient biometrics, the chemistry of Roman funerals, and the intimate fingerprints of the undertakers who stood over the dead nearly 2 millennia ago. To understand the significance of these artifacts, we must first transport ourselves to the city of York, known in antiquity as Eboracum. This was not a backwater outpost. It was the military and cosmopolitan hub of the Roman Empire's northernmost province. It was a city of stone and soldiering, a place where emperors died and new ones were proclaimed. But beneath the grand architecture and military might, Eboracum was also the epicenter of a peculiar and incredibly rare burial practice. In the 3rd and 4th centuries AD, while the vast majority of Romans were cremated or buried in simple wooden coffins, a select group of high-status individuals received a treatment that bordered on mummification. These elites were laid to rest in heavy stone or lead sarcophagi. They were clothed in their finest garments and wrapped in linen shrouds. But the ritual did not end there. In a final act of permanence, a liquid mixture of gypsum, what we know today as plaster of Paris, was poured or troweled over the shrouded body. As this liquid gypsum hardened, it captured everything. It solidified around every fold of the cloth, every curve of the limb, and every nuance of the body's position. Over the ensuing centuries, the organic matter, the flesh, the bone, the linen, decayed and turned to dust, but the gypsum remained. The block became a perfect, negative mold, a hollow void in the shape of the deceased, a ghost locked in stone. While isolated examples of this burial style have been found in North Africa and continental Europe, York is the global capital for this enigmatic rite, with over 45 recorded examples found in the city's ancient cemeteries. For decades, these gypsum blocks posed a frustrating paradox for historians. To study them, you would have to break them open, effectively destroying the artifact to see what was inside. As a result, many sat on museum shelves, their secrets safe within the opaque white mineral. This changed with the launch of the Seeing the Dead project, a groundbreaking collaboration between the University of York, York Museums Trust, and Heritage 360. Led by Professor Maureen Carroll, this team decided to stop looking at the blocks and start looking into them using advanced 3D scanning technologies. They utilized handheld devices like the Artec Leo and Space Spider scanners. These are instruments that project structured light patterns onto an object, capturing millions of data points to create a digital model accurate to the submillimeter. When the researchers turned these scanners on the negative cavities of the gypsum blocks, the results were nothing short of miraculous. By digitally inverting the scans, turning the negative void into a positive shape, they were able to virtually reconstruct the bodies that had long since disappeared. One of the most poignant discoveries from this project was a single coffin that contained not one, but 3 individuals, 2 adults and an infant. The scan revealed a heartbreaking domestic tableau frozen in time. The bodies were not simply dumped together, they were arranged with immense care. The high-resolution data showed the texture of the shrouds wrapped around them, the ties that bound the fabric over their heads, and the tiny bands of cloth used to swaddle the baby. The level of detail was so precise that researchers could identify the different weaves of the textiles, distinguishing between coarse outer wrappings and finer inner linens, without a single scrap of actual fabric surviving. This digital autopsy allowed us to witness a family tragedy from nearly 2 millennia ago, suggesting the 3 died simultaneously, perhaps from an infectious disease, and were buried in a single, desperate, yet loving event. But the project went beyond just visual reconstruction. It delved into the chemistry and craft of the burial itself. To understand how these biometrics were preserved, one must understand the material. Gypsum, or calcium sulfate dihydrate, is a soft mineral abundant in the geology surrounding York. When heated to about 150 degrees Celsius, it dehydrates and becomes a fine powder. When water is added back, it rehydrates and crystallizes into a hard, rock-like substance. The Romans of York had mastered this chemistry, but recent analysis has shown that this was not merely a construction process applied to the dead. It was a ritual performance. One of the most startling findings from the Seeing the Dead project was the discovery of human fingerprints preserved in the gypsum. For years, the prevailing theory was that the liquid gypsum was simply poured over the body from a bucket, an industrial finish to the funeral. The fingerprints tell a different story. High-resolution scans revealed drag marks and the distinct ridges of fingertips on the surface of the cast. This indicates that the mixture was applied as a thick, malleable paste, not a soup. An individual, likely a family member or a professional undertaker, reached into the coffin and smoothed the wet plaster over the shrouded body by hand. This act of touching the dead, of sculpting the final casing, adds a layer of intimacy to the burial that historical texts never recorded. We are not just seeing the dead, we are seeing the hands that cared for them. The visual biometrics were further complemented by invisible chemical signatures. Using mass spectrometry and Raman spectroscopy, scientists analyzed the microscopic residues left in the gypsum and on the few surviving textile fragments. They were searching for the smell of the funeral. What they found confirmed the immense wealth of these individuals. The chemical signatures revealed traces of frankincense from southern Arabia or East Africa, along with other expensive resins like mastic and pine from the Mediterranean. These substances were not native to Britain. They had to be imported over thousands of miles of road and sea at great cost. The presence of frankincense serves a dual purpose. Practically, it is antimicrobial and helps mask the scent of decomposition. Ritually, it was a substance of the gods, used to purify the soul and perhaps speed its journey to the afterlife. To find it in a grave in northern England is a testament to the reach of Roman trade networks and the desire of York's elite to emulate the cosmopolitan fashions of Rome and the East. While York is the undisputed hub of these burials, a recent discovery in 2025 has broadened our geographical understanding. During construction work on the A47 highway in Cambridgeshire, archaeologists unearthed a limestone sarcophagus containing a gypsum burial in a rural setting. This find is significant because it challenges the idea that this was exclusively an urban practice. The individual inside was clearly of high status, buried in a stone coffin quarried 50 kilometers away. Yet they were interred in a small rural settlement. This suggests that the fashion of gypsum burial had permeated the countryside, adopted by wealthy landowners or villa elites who wanted to distinguish themselves from the common cremation or soil burials of their neighbors. Like the York examples, this rural burial preserved the imprint of the shroud, providing a crucial data point that helps map the spread of this funerary culture across the province of Britannia. So what do these recovered biometrics ultimately tell us about the people of Roman Britain? First, they offer a masterclass in textiles and fashion. The casts provide some of the best evidence for Roman textiles in Britain, showing the width of the loom, the density of the weave, and the style of wrapping. Some bodies were wrapped in simple sheets, while others show complex bandaging reminiscent of Egyptian mummies, hinting at a fusion of cultural influences. Second, they provide invaluable physical anthropology data. The negative spaces allow for precise measurements of the body, including height and build, and sometimes even facial features if the shroud was tight enough. In some cases, the ghost reveals footwear, showing the style of leather shoes or sandals worn into the afterlife. And third, they illustrate the stark social hierarchy of the time. The combination of stone coffins, imported aromatics, and the labor-intensive gypsum process marks these individuals as the top 1% of Arboretum society. These were military commanders, wealthy merchants, or high-ranking officials who wanted their death to be as impactful as their life. In conclusion, the gypsum shrouds of York are more than just archaeological curiosities. They are time capsules that captured the ephemeral moments of a funeral that took place 700 years ago. Through the lens of 3D scanning, we can now unwrap these burials without destroying them, recovering the biometrics of the deceased and the gestures of the living. These casts remind us that for the Romans, death was not an end, but a transition requiring care, cost, and ritual. The fingerprints left in the plaster are a touching testament to the human need to preserve, to protect, and to remember. As we gaze into the digital reconstructions of these ancient voids, we are meeting the Romans of York face to face, recovering their shapes from the stone that was meant to keep them safe for eternity. The gypsum hardened, the body faded, but thanks to modern science, the memory remains indelible. Thank you for listening to this deep dive on G Fun Facts Online.